Hello, I'm Jeff Eakins from Hillsborough County Public Schools, and you're watching Tampa Bay Community Network.
Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and this is Spotlight on Government. We're going to spotlight the Hillsborough County Schools today, and I have Jeff Eakins, the superintendent of schools, with me. I want to know about what you feel the future of education is here in Hillsborough County.
Well, it's extremely bright. First of all, thank you for having me on today. Really appreciate talking about a great school district filled with great employees, meeting the needs of kids every single day. It is an absolute privilege to be the superintendent.
You grew up here.
Well, actually, I grew up in Ohio.
Well, I mean, as a teacher.
I did. I grew up as an educator. My wife and I both were educators in Hillsborough County for the last 26 years, and it's absolutely been a blessing for us. This is our family. This is our family now, and it's just an honor to be able to serve the families in Hillsborough County as the superintendent, and to be able to serve the employees in this great district. But the future is bright. We have great plans. I've been working very closely with the school board and the staff here in Hillsborough County over the last 3 months as a superintendent, revisioning, having a new mission, a new strategic plan, but a strategic plan that's going to meet the needs of all kids in Hillsborough County.
Started out there in Waimama, the elementary?
Yes, sir. Waimama Elementary, 4th grade teacher, 1989. That's where my start was.
Humble beginnings like my friend Earl Leonard.
Absolutely, but I tell you what, the kids were wonderful. Fell in love with the families and the kids at Waimama, and really provided a great foundation for teaching for me, and learned how to meet needs of a variety of students. And so, but it really was kind of an initial love affair between the families and the teachers at Waimama, and from there it really has provided me a great lens to kind of look back on and look through as I have kind of moved through other positions in the district.
Well, if Earl Leonard is the pattern for success and you're following that seems pretty good to me.
I'd love to follow Dr. Leonard. He's an absolute wonderful leader for our school district and in this community.
For anything. It really doesn't matter.
Anything, absolutely.
What do you see as the top priorities now in the district? You're new into the job, or reasonably new into the job, and there was a lot of controversy that came along with it. That's all settled down now. People are looking at you for the direction and guidance. Where are we going?
Well, first of all, it's all about kids. I mean, the first message that the first message we made clear is we have to all across this entire organization, 27,000 employees, know why we exist every day. The only reason we exist in our roles is because parents make a choice. They make a choice to send their children to Hillsborough County Public Schools, and what we have to do as employees, whether you're a bus driver, whether you work in the cafeteria, whether you're a principal, whether you're a teacher, whatever role you play, that you need to reciprocate that trust back to that parent in the choice that they've made. So it's taken us the last three or four months to really meet with all of our employee groups to make sure that's very clear. We only exist to meet their needs. And with that, the school board and
myself. That's the basis of customer service.
Absolutely. You have to know why you exist, why you're in your roles in your first place. And once we've all kind of established that culture within our organization, is really working with the board, working with our staff, working with our leaders across this district, our employees across this district to look at our strategic priorities of the district. Where are we going? Where do our kids need to be in the next 5, 10, 15 years? What does the workforce say that the needs are out there? And how can we make sure we can match the kids' interests with that workforce need?
I had to laugh a little bit. I taught up at Edison College there in Ohio, and we did a survey to find out what employers wanted.
Right.
You know what the number one thing was?
What was it?
Show up and on time.
You got it. I tell you what, that's a very, very important skill.
Seriously, that was the number one thing.
Yeah.
And they did away with being able to skip class and do that, to give them that priority. It's little things.
Exactly right, Bill. I mean, our top priority, obviously being in education, is to ensure that our students graduate with a standard diploma. But it's really more than just a piece of paper that they walk across the stage with after 13 years from kindergarten through 12th grade. It really has to be a very intentional education that we provide those students, start to connect them with career and workforce opportunities and what's out there in the Tampa Bay region, really helping them to see that they not only have been successful in school, but they're going to be successful in life. That's the new vision of the school district and adopted by the school board is preparing students for life. We have to make sure that it's way more than just academics. It's preparing them for those other skills.
And it's not just a slogan.
It's not just a slogan. It's about preparing them academically, preparing them for those other skills like showing up to work, showing up to school. That's a great way to start practicing that skill set. That's what employers look for. So we want to make sure we weave into our students not only the academics, but those other skills that are going to set them up for success.
Well, you know, speaking of that, you're setting the whole community up for success.
That's what we're doing. We are the largest employer in Hillsborough County. 27,000 employees, 212,000 children that we educate. We are the largest footprint in Hillsborough County as an organization, and we have to take advantage of that footprint to really show how we can change and help this community thrive. I mean, that's really what we have to see ourselves doing. And one of the ways we do that is we take care of kids every day for their families and their parents. When parents entrust their children to Hillsborough County Public Schools, we have to show them that they made the greatest choice ever.
Well, I think the nice thing is that you have sat in all the chairs.
Yes, sir.
And not just somewhere, but right here.
Yes, sir.
So when someone says Waimama to you, or East, they all are areas that you know.
Yeah, I've been a teacher, I've been an assistant principal, I've been a principal, I've worked at the district level working in programs that supported students that were facing great challenges. So I've seen all those different vantage points as an educator, and so when I have people that come to me with concerns or issues, or they want to communicate information to me, I can really go back and I can view it from all those different seats. Definitely the first thing I want to do is view it from as a parent. You know, how does the issue that they're bringing to our school district or to me, they're the client. We have to make sure that we are responsive to their needs. So looking at it from all those different vantage points is key for our success, and showing the community that we're not just educating kids, we're preparing them for the next thing in their life, the workforce. And we know that 86% of the kids that go to Hillsborough County Public Schools end up staying in this region. So we better make sure that many. So when they cross the stage, we know most of them are going to stick around this area. So if they're going to stick around Hillsborough, we want to connect them to the very best post-secondary opportunity for them.
They're either going to be productive citizens or welfare recipients.
That's
so
right.
You guys better do a good job.
And that's on us. You're absolutely right. We have to take that as our mission. We have to make sure they are productive citizens. Our mission statement says that, not just to provide them the greatest education, but give them the supports they need to be great students and great citizens. And so when they walk out into the community, that we know that we're producing kids that we can be very, very proud of.
I'm curious, since you mentioned walking across stage and getting a diploma, what percentage of our children do not get a diploma or do get a diploma, whichever way you want to go?
Well, Bill, that's where I started my journey back in the late spring. I wanted to know of the students who don't cross the stage, what's going on?
Where are they?
Because right now our graduation rate last year was 2 years ago was 73.5%. So that told me 26.5% don't walk across the stage 4 years later after they start high school. Now, not every single one of those students, of course, dropped out. That's not what, they were still with us. Most of them were still with us, but they fell behind in credits.
Oh, okay.
So you have to think about what happens to a student's psyche when they start to fall behind in credits. Well, what happens is they have to take extra classes. They have to take heavier loads of classes. And sometimes those classes then fill up their schedules with courses that maybe they didn't like in the first place, and now they're going to have to take them again.
I can relate to that.
So what happens is many times our students lose a little bit of hope along the way too, because something that they might be excited about taking or a pathway they may be excited about entering into is not available for them. So that tends to cause our students in our high schools to feel a little disenfranchised about their education. So what we're doing is we're making sure that when our incoming ninth graders came in this year, we have a tracking system that I can tell you right now, the students in our ninth grade classes that have a GPA below 2.0, because that's a key statistic for Hillsborough County Public Schools. We found out when we look back at the data that if students leave ninth grade and they have less than a 2.0 GPA, their graduation rate is around 48%.
Wow.
So if we can focus them in on their courses, focus them on getting them the help that they need in ninth grade and keeping them on track, they're not going to lose that hope. They're not going to feel disenfranchised. They're going to get into those classes that really interest them, and then we can start connecting them to the next thing in their life, whether it's the post-secondary, the technical college, the workforce career. We can start to marry our business community with our schools so that we can start to develop those relationships.
That's powerful. I mean, bringing the workforce into the schools, I think is a very important thing. A lot of people, they get a degree in, even from college, and they can't. We just had a friend get a degree in something, and she couldn't sell it. Nobody wanted to buy it.
You're absolutely
right. And she had $90,000 worth of
debt.
College debt.
Absolutely right. And that's something we're looking at. One of the things that we have to make sure we talk to our students about as they're going through high school is, first of all, we have to know what interests them, to make sure that they get in a pathway or they see the options out there that's available to them for their future, because we definitely want them to get connected to something they're interested in. But the other piece, we have to know what the workforce needs. We have to make sure that we're not sending them down a pathway by which they get to that end of that road and all of a sudden there's no opportunity there for them.
Right.
We know the statistic from just last year. It was somewhere in the 30 to 35% range of four-year college graduates across the nation ended up in jobs that only required a high school diploma. Why? Because they ended up taking courses and they ended up with degrees where there really wasn't a pathway for them.
Right.
So we have to make sure we counsel students along the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade pathway. We have to help them understand, we know you're interested in this, and this is great. Here are the options, and here are the options where there is opportunities. So we make sure we get them connected, and that's something we owe them, not just the education, but being very intentional about connecting them to the right opportunity.
Well, you know, I remember sitting down with counselors and them asking me what I want to do. I had no idea. I told them what they wanted to hear.
Right.
And parents would seem to have to get involved. And, you know, in sales, I always taught attention, interest, desire, close.
Right.
You know, you got to get their attention first.
Right.
And with the massive amount of people in your school system, how do you do that?
Well, first of all, we have to harness and leverage the great people that we have, because we have counselors in multiple counselors in every one of our high schools. We have to help them get back to what they do best, counsel students. A lot of times over the years, some of our workers, like our counselors, have been sidetracked in doing other things like testing and some of the other mandated requirements. You've heard a lot about that, haven't you?
I'm sorry, but I am so against all this testing.
Yeah,
I really am.
Yeah,
you know, we went for years with all of this testing, and all it does is make testing companies rich.
Yeah. Well, that's
but that's my personal view. I'm sorry.
No, I believe a lot of what you believe there, Bill. I think tests and assessments should be given to kids to help inform us how to do better with them. You know, if we're just giving test after test after test, and we're not utilizing that information to help students and help them immediately, then it's really not a good test. And that's why we need to get our great employees like our counselors back to what they do the best and what they want to do the best. And that's with kids, counseling them, getting them on the right pathways, making sure they connect those students to the right opportunities in their future, and helping them along those pre-K to 12th grade years, help them to stay on track.
You've got counselors, but I got to believe they're overloaded.
Very overloaded.
And so for them to advocate for the kids and do that, that's got to be a difficult thing.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And yet I know one thing that's near and dear to you, because I've heard some and read some of the things you've written, is that every child should have some advocate somewhere that's helping them.
Absolutely.
How are we going to do that?
Well, we first of all
going into the community.
We have to have partners that come alongside of us, because we have to admit we can't do all of this alone. We can't do it alone. We have to make sure that we have great partners that come alongside us. The first thing that we have to do, Bill, is we have to make sure that all 27,000 employees that we have in Hillsborough County Public Schools that has an opportunity to impact the life of a child, they get that opportunity and they take advantage of it. We can't let one child go past any one of our employees without them doing something to make that child feel a little better about themselves. Whether you're the custodian, or you're the teacher in the classroom, or you're the paraprofessional. I want every single one of the people that work for us to be fulfilled about their jobs. And one way you do that is to focus on the kids. They'll help you be fulfilled about your job really quick. So we want to make sure that our employees are the first advocates. We want to make sure our parents are definitely the advocates at home and advocates at school for their children. But then we have great volunteers, thousands of volunteers that come on our campuses every day. We have great partners that come alongside of us through various organizations. And one of the things that we're doing as we're meeting with our partners is we're talking about aligning what they can bring to the table with what our schools and our classrooms and our kids need. And that's a different conversation. A lot of people come and they want to help, but they don't always get guidance from the school district on how they can help the best.
And it's only help if you're doing what you need.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
I've had many people want to help me. Well,
Absolutely.
no, it's not help if you're not doing what I need you to do.
Absolutely. But our partners, we can now talk to them about, is it something that you want to do? Maybe there's something with mentoring that they would like to do for our kids. Maybe it's something with leadership to help our kids become stronger leaders. Maybe it's a service learning project that helps our kids really understand the world around them a little bit better.
Okay, now when you're talking about partners there, let's identify some of these
Sure.
people, not by name, but by who generally they are.
Sure. Well, we have all the nonprofits, the Boys and Girls Club, the Y, the folks that service our kids in other places in the county. They want to make sure, and we want to make sure that we're all sending the same message. The message is aligned to the kids. What does great character look like? We expect great character of our employees, great character of our kids every day. Well, they should expect great character when they're with them. We have all of our faith-based partners that are out there in the community that are really coming alongside us and helping to kind of pour in, mentor, and counsel students. We have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts.
These mentors who come on campus, little disclaimer, I do occasionally come on campus with the Great American Teach Out and everything and had to fill out all kind of forms.
Absolutely.
I assume that whenever anyone comes and works or helps, they have to do the background thing.
Absolutely. Everyone gets a background check. We want to make sure when they're on campus, that's a person that's of great character in front of our kids. So that's always checked out for every single volunteer that comes on campus. But all those volunteers are going to be part of that army of advocates that we're going to create for all of our kids so that students aren't just hearing it from one person. They're hearing it from several people about how they're going to be successful in their life.
All of that is wonderful. But there has to be some checks and balances.
Sure.
And one of the things I wonder about, you're saying bringing the parents on board, bringing these different people. How do you evaluate their performance? Now, I'm a great believer and have taught in my seminars all over the country, 360 evaluation. Right. I really believe in 360. But most managers aren't willing to put that in because, as you well know, it requires them to be evaluated by the staff and others. Right. What do you do in your school system to do an evaluation to find out whether these partners are helping, the parents are getting what they want? Is there some formal way of doing that evaluation? There's
a couple ways, Bill. First of all, whenever an organization kind of comes alongside us and starts to do work in our schools, up front we talk about what is it that you're trying to impact. You know, is it going to be school grades of our students? Is it going to be, are we trying to reduce behavior incidents and have, better instructional time for our kids in our classrooms? Those are the kinds of things. Are we trying to change the attitudes of some of our students? So we establish up front with those organizations what it is that their ultimate goal is, and then we do a data collection. They do their data collection. They are able to see their impact on that school or on those cohort of students. So that's kind of how we set the stage with our partners. And our partners love then to share that data out in the community because it helps to garner more interest in their organization. Right. So it's a value add to them. It's a value add to us. It's a win-win.
How are the teachers evaluated?
Well, that's been a rigorous process in our district. We have amazing teachers across this entire district, so appreciative of the work that they put in. 16,000 teachers strong, and they do an amazing job. We've put in place a system that definitely has put a lot of eyes on our teachers and certainly has evaluated them very rigorously. It's my vision as a superintendent, working with our board, working with our teachers and all of our employees, is to develop a system by which all of our employees feel very valued in that process, feel very valued, and also they feel like that the feedback that they're getting is only that feedback that's going to help them to become better at what their job is. I would love to see for our teachers at every single one of our schools a high-quality professional growth environment where they feel like they're working with each other to help each other to get better. And in that process, the evaluation becomes more a validation of their expertise and their growth. That's the synergy that we'd love to see created at all of our school sites, and become less evaluation centric, although the evaluation is important, but really what are the needs of the kids at each one of our schools that drives the professional development of each teacher at that school to help them be more successful with those students. That needs to be what the conversation is, and I'm excited to have those conversations with our teachers and our leaders across this district to really create that at every single school in our district.
In a specific school, when you were teaching,
right?
Who did your evaluation?
The principal did the evaluation, but I will tell you what, I was very blessed to be in a school by which we had that environment where we as teachers were not going to let anyone fail. We were going to support the teacher that was the first year teacher that needed the extra help. The teacher that might be struggling, we were going to come alongside that teacher and we were going to support them. We were going to make sure that they were successful because ultimately we knew it was going to help our kids. And that's really the environment around evaluation that we need to think about. Evaluation is kind of the checks and balances along the way to make sure we are growing, but it's really what happens in between those evaluations. It's that support that our teachers and our employees get, real support, valued support, that's going to help take their teaching and their profession to the next level. They're going to feel like professionals, they're going to feel valued, and they're going to do great things for kids.
Have you ever, or would you ever contemplate the idea possibly of having students evaluate the teachers and also having parents evaluate teachers?
Well, students will
and teachers evaluating each other.
Right. Well, one of the things that we do every year is we do a survey that we give to our students and our parents and our employees. So every school gets feedback from those particular stakeholder groups around issues around their teachers and around the environment, the culture at their school, and so how responsive the school is to meet their needs, how many opportunities there are on campus for parents to take advantage of. So we get some great feedback, and that feedback that we get, the school goes over that with all their teachers and all their faculty members at the beginning of every year. It really kind of sets the stage to developing their plan for improvement in the school every year. And so that already takes place. And I will tell you what, though, every day is an evaluation taking place with kids. They will tell you in a heartbeat how they feel. So I treasure that because I think teachers should. We should want, because they're a client. They're why we're there. That student in that seat is why the teacher's there. And so to get that instant feedback that students are never shy about giving you, should be listened to, should be valued, and then we as professionals respond to that. We respond to that by making sure the next thing we do with that student is the very best thing for that student.
I think that's important. You talked at the very beginning, the first thing you talked about, and I see it's very important to you, is customer service.
Absolutely.
And if I'm going to believe that, and I do, then the customer is the student and the parents. And I think they should be involved in the process of evaluation. And obviously, you've set up a system that they do have input.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I couldn't have said it any better. I mean, we only exist, as I said earlier, we only exist because the parents make the choice. There are so many options that parents could avail themselves to with their child's education in 2015 compared to 25 or 30 years ago. We have to make sure when they show up in our classrooms that they're getting the very best service and we're being responsive to their needs.
Let's talk about the state's accountability system.
Okay.
You spoke out against it. Why did you speak out against it, and what do you think of the problems with it?
Yeah, well, I spoke out this year, and along with the other superintendents across the state. Here's what's occurred over the last year or two. The state moved to a new set of standards, very rigorous standards. Our teachers, our students all made that transition. And they did a great job in making that transition instructionally, making sure that they're teaching to the standards. The students are learning to those standards, and they're very high standards. And so as you make that transition, I want to make sure that people realize all the work that went into that, into moving to those new standards. Well, what the state's accountability system does is it now assesses the students to see if they are on par with those standards with the Florida Standards Assessment. And that was administered last spring. I don't know if you remember, but in the course of that administration, you probably saw some articles that not every assessment was carried out.
There was problems.
There were some problems. Okay, you said it better than I did. There were some problems across the state of Florida, especially on the computer-based assessments because the computer would shut down. Now, the definition of a standardized assessment is that students have standardized conditions in taking that assessment. So we knew that there was going to be a challenge with some of those results because, how would you feel if you were ready to take an assessment, you were 2 questions in, and the computer shut down, and now you had to wait an hour before you can get back on there? Students were frustrated.
Adrenaline.
Absolutely.
That changes the standards.
Absolutely. And so what the state did is they hired a firm to do a validity study before they made any decisions about the results. The validity study came out at the beginning of September and basically said there were some issues. And so because of those issues, they definitely didn't want to see the scores for the students being used perhaps against them. However, the state said, in looking at the validity study, that we still think we can use those results, those same results that we said weren't going to be perhaps valid for students. We're going to use them for teacher evaluation, and we're going to use them for school grading.
Got to do something to justify the cost, right?
Exactly. And on top of that, Bill, the state grading formula has always included both proficiency, how many students are actually on level, and then another set of cells that shows the growth of students. Because this is the first year of implementing this Florida Standards Assessment, the state has decided not to include any growth scores for our students. So the schools out there that might be working with our students that are facing the greatest challenges, maybe 2 or 3 years below grade level when the students came into that classroom of that teacher could have taken those students a whole 2 years, but will not get any credit in the accountability system for that hard work. And so that's the reason myself and other superintendents across the state have said, time out. We have to make sure the accountability system has already had some challenges with its own credibility over the last few years. We believe this will only add more challenges to the credibility of the overall accountability system.
Superintendent Eakins, would you like to take just a minute and talk directly to the people out there in my audience and tell them your process and dreams? We've got about a minute for it.
Well, absolutely,
and
Bill.
You can't get a lot of it in there, I know.
Well, I appreciate that. And first of all, as I said at the very beginning, it is an absolute honor and a privilege to be the superintendent of the greatest school district in the nation, Hillsborough County Public Schools. And as an educator to the parents and to the students out there and to the employees out there, I want to let you know I'm going to give 110% every single day that I'm on this job to ensure that children across this entire community get the very best education ever. And we will continue to do our best with our employees, working so hard as they do every single day to provide that for your students. And that is my commitment to you. That is my promise. That is my pledge.
And, the more you talk, the more I see, the more I hear of you, the more Dr. Leonard keeps popping up in my head. Dr. Leonard, I hope you consider that something good.
Yeah, absolutely. He was an amazing superintendent, amazing educator, just an amazing member of the community.
Everybody was put before him.
Absolutely.
And still is.
Absolutely, absolutely. So he is the person I look to, and for advice. He's the person.
Couldn't have anybody better in your corner.
But you know what? You just watched him. I was a principal. I was a teacher when he was a superintendent. And all you needed to do was watch him and listen to him, and you knew that he was a person that valued every single person in this organization. And everyone has such a deep respect for him.
It still does.
It still does, absolutely.
In every organization he touches.
Absolutely.
So you've got a really good base going in, and I really appreciate your being on the program,
Thank you, Bill.
Eakins.
It was a pleasure being here.
So much. I've had Superintendent Eakins on the show from the Hillsborough County Public Schools. You're unique, you're special, and you're great. Tell yourself so often because you are, and I'll look very much forward to having you back. Will you come back?
I will do that, absolutely. Look forward to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us, and we'll see you on the next Spotlight on Government.